Hey, Armand here with your forecast for the week of June 20th, 2021. Before we go any further, shout out time. Okay, so actually, the last time I gave shout out to three people, two of them have stopped doing videos. So Adam is still chugging along, but it may not be the best thing. Anyway, I'm sure it's unrelated. So I do want to give a shout out to Adam at the Medium channel, and that information will be in the box below, and you can check him out. He does a tarot forecast on Sunday mornings at 11. I almost caught it live today, almost. And But you can watch it later on when it airs. I watch it usually on Monday mornings, and he does other great stuff throughout the week. And I also want to give a shout out to me. Myself and Natalie Delahaye are doing a podcast. We call it The Integrated Minds, and it is available here on YouTube. Again, the information will be down below. It is not astrology based. It is about other things, because there's other things in the world to talk about. And we've done some great ones so far on hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming and medical herbology. We're going to be doing one on feng shui this week. Anyway, I'm sure that it's a new project. I'm sure it would grow organically. Who wants to wait? So if you just go over and subscribe to that, that would be a big favor, and I would really thank you for it. All right, let's talk about this week. Okay, so what do we want to say about this week? We want to say that, I'm always telling you that I am not here to be your excuse for procrastination. I am not saying we should use astrology to wait for the perfect time and that never comes, and so you don't do something. I'd like to apply for the job, but the moon is in. And yeah, that's not good. This week, however, a little bit of caution might be called for. Okay, the reason is that we have very high energy stuff going on, right? So we're supercharged. And we have a lot of uncertainty. Well, when you combine high energy and uncertainty, you got a situation like you're driving a Maserati on a mountain road that's winding, and it's foggy and it's raining and you don't have your windshield wipers on. It's just a little bit too much is the whole thing. You're going too fast and you're not really sure what's going on. So it might be worthwhile this week to sort of take the inward journey. There's a lot of stuff that really supports that this week, actually. The inward journey is really supported. In terms of doing stuff out in the world, a little bit less so. Although, the other thing is, too, that, like, when you get that high energy, you're just, like, pulled to go do something. So it's a little bit hard. Let's talk about the high energy aspects of the week. Well, first of all, here on Sunday the 20th, Jupiter stationed to go retrograde. Planetary stations reverberate a couple of days in either direction. Keep that in mind for later in the week. Planetary stations reverberate for a couple of days in either direction, and so we're feeling it. Jupiter stations, optimism, a sense of, hope, faith in the future type of thing. It is the leap of faith aspect, as I said, I think probably last week. It's the leap of faith aspect as opposed to the look before you leap aspect. It's a pretty nice energy, makes things feel good, maybe a little overindulgence here and there. But that's about the only problem we'd say with the Jupiter station. But it's a high energy kind of thing that does kind of, get you like ready to go. Well, okay, let's see where we're going to go. The other thing that is happening on Sunday the 20th, well, it depends where you are. It'll be the earliest hours of Monday in Europe, but at 11:30. Well, it's 11:31 tonight Eastern time is the Cancer solstice, the summer solstice for those 90% of us who live in the northern hemisphere. It is the summer solstice. So again, high energy, big transition point, big change kind of. It's a change point. It's a little bit of a change of direction kind of energy that is associated with this. So. Solstice. So we're changing, direction. We're changing we're moving from spring into summer, but it's a hinge point in the year. It's sort of, well, it's the peak of the year in a sense. In the solar year, it's the peak, and when you get to the top, there's only one place to go. Anyway, but it happens very slowly. We still have nice long days. Okay, so Jupiter station, summer solstice. On Wednesday, the sun trines Jupiter, newly stationed Jupiter. That again extends that energy. This is the big, pushing forward, high energy kind of thing that is so strong. Again, reverberates. On Thursday, it's the full moon. It's the full moon in the sign of Cancer. And so again, as always, full moons, high energy, a little bit of lunacy. So you see, you get the picture, right? Jupiter station, solstice, sun trine Jupiter, and the moon will be in Sagittarius when sun trines Jupiter on Wednesday. So, talk about, feeling inflated. That's Jupiter's sign. And then we have the full moon on Thursday, and that's, as always. Okay, so going on, the next question would have to be, what's the problem? It sounds like a great time to go out and have fun. Well, the problem is that Mercury stations to go direct on Tuesday. Now, Mercury stations are extremely, we've had the Mercury retrograde for 3 weeks. We've been feeling it since it entered into his shadow about 6 weeks ago. But we get more intensity right around the station. So Tuesday, well, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, mercurial mishaps multiply. It is a much more, it's a greater frequency of greater problems when Mercury stations. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll tell you a story about that. So there we have the problem number one. We're all hopped up on all of the celestial energy, and there's a lack of clarity because of Mercury. We're like misinformation. This is going off half cocked. This is the short fuse. This is the getting information that is wrong and acting on it kind of thing. So that's a problem right there. New York State, I think, but New York City for sure is doing their first primary elections with ranked choice balloting, and the election, which is a good idea, and the election is on Tuesday, which is a bad idea. So we'll have to see what happens with that. That should be interesting. The other thing that is lack of clarity is Neptune station on Friday. Whew. Well, now Neptune stations are like Mercury retrograde sort of energy, but even a little bit more vague. You could really buy into something that is fanciful and just not realize it. It is a very unrealistic energy on the Saturnian plane, that Saturnian plane where we live. And it is great for meditation and all kinds of explorations out there, but it is not terrific for doing anything practical, making any practical decisions. Mercury, kind of misinformation. Neptune, just buying into a fantasy kind of thing. Not realistic energy is the point. So high energy and yet unrealistic. We are capping off about a month of really wonky energy. We had the eclipses, so that was very high energy and so on. And the last couple of weeks, we've had this Neptunian mercurial thing really quite prominent, this sort of, uncertainty reigning. And it really does, in its own way, peak this week. Okay, so, you'd want to approach it with a little bit of caution there. The Venus is pretty busy this week. On Wednesday, in the midst of everything else, she'll oppose Pluto. It could be time for a very serious discussion, if you think that that's a good idea. It may not be a discussion, actually, right? I mean, Venus opposite Pluto. It may not be a discussion. So you'd want to take a little caution on that. Again, if it comes to a relationship type of thing, we might be looking at a situation where, we get a vague feeling that is somehow a little uncertain. We may feel a little too enthused. We may feel a little too hopeless. We may feel that somebody's trying to control us, and so the whole thing. But you probably want to really wait a little bit if you can. This is, by the time we get to next week, the energy is going to be mellowed out. Venus is, by the way, at the very end of Cancer on Saturday. Well, late Saturday. If you're on the west coast of the U.S., you might get a little Leonine fun out of it. But she's at the very end of Cancer, and then we'll be moving into Leo on Sunday next week. A little bit more outgoing, kind of fun energy for socializing. Yeah. So we've had this period. The world has been kind of nuts, but the world is always kind of nuts. And then we have our own personal experience of it seems to have been rather challenging for a lot of folks this last month. There's the sense of either, I'm either transitioning to a higher being or I'm really cracking up. And it's not, people seem to be sort of on the fence about that. And it is a little bit of a wonky, difficult energy that we've been dealing with. So now the story of what happened to me with my Mercury Neptune adventure. So what I was traveling, I went to an astrology conference in Majorca in 2014 in June, and I traveled back on the day between a Mercury and a Neptune station. I don't know what astrologer booked his ticket on that day, but anyways, so the plan was Mercury to Dusseldorf, Germany, and then from there to New York. So I get to Dusseldorf okay, and I'm waiting around in the airport for like a 1:00 flight, and I'm sitting not far from the gate, and there's the sign up there, flight 123, gate 16, 1:00. So it's 12:00, and they're not saying anything or doing anything, and then it gets to be 12:30. And it just says the same thing. There's no delay, there's no it just says 1:00, gate 16. About 1:45, I'm starting to get pretty nervous. There's a few other people sitting around, but not a lot. There's no announcements. There's no announcements in the airport, English, German, or otherwise. So much for the German efficiency. But we won't go there. 5:01, I'm freaking out. I can see gate 16. There's nobody there. It's a peculiar situation, right? So I want to go look at some other gate, find another employee of the airline that I can ask what's going on. All the gates are empty. There's nobody who works for the airline. You know what it's like inside of an airport? It's like a shopping mall, right? So there's people working in the duty-free stores and stuff like that, but there's nobody who actually works for an airline inside of the area there. So I'm pretty well freaked out. And this is, it's mercurial in the sense of something has gone wrong with the flight and the information. It's Neptunian in the sense that I can't find anybody. There's everything has just disappeared. It's like the Twilight Zone. Running around an airport, you can't find anybody who works for an airline. I had to leave the secure area where passengers go and go back down to the area where they sell tickets. There I found people. In fact, I found about 300 people lined up to have their flights rebooked. I now know that. I just saw 300 people on the line. So before I got on that line, I said, I better go check this out. So I kind of, muscled my way up through the county. People were not happy. They were on this. I was like, I'm not going to get on the line if I don't know what this is about, right? So when I get to the counter 3 hours later and find out it's the wrong line. So I asked the woman who was there, she was doing somebody else's ticket. I said, what happened? I was supposed to be on this flight and was this. And she said, oh yeah, the flights are canceled. The French air traffic controllers had gone on strike and we can't fly over France. So everything has to be rebooked. I said, 300 people line? And for reasons that I am convinced we will never fully know, she said, yes, but wait. I'll help you. So she finished what she was doing, and then she disappeared for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh gosh, maybe she's going to the end of this, interminable line. But no, she came back, and she took my passport and my ticket, rebooked me 3 minutes. So I had all this time, because it was 4 hours to the flight, And I said, okay, um, I'm going to go see about getting my luggage from the airline. So I went to the luggage room and I said, I gave them my ticket and stuff. I said, I was on that flight. And she goes, we'll go get it. It's in the back. Don't worry about it. So for 3 hours, I waited there for them to go get my bag. And I you know, I encouraged them at various points to, please go look for it or something like that, or let me go look for it, or whatever. Well, eventually, no, I had to go get on my new flight, and so I left it behind. I left my luggage behind and a really nice shirt. Anyway, and I eventually had to, when I got home, I filed a complaint, like that thing about lost luggage and stuff like that, and never even received a response. Never even received a response to it. It just disappeared. So this is Mercury and this is Neptune, right? You know, Mercury, the general foul up, the whole thing, the line, there's this. Neptune, not being able to find anybody in the airport, my luggage just disappearing. That's both Mercury and Neptune, but it's just disappearing, and we're not even going to address it, you know. And yet, there's also that Neptunian serendipity in there, right? I didn't have to wait on the line, right? It just worked out in that respect. That's a story. If you're traveling this week, remember it. I'll see you next time.